Andra Day, welcome to Upfront. It is such a pleasure to be talking with you and so excited about this film. When I heard that Lee Daniels was going to do this, I have to be honest, I was like, okay, I hope this is not a remake of Lady Sings the Blues. But as
Mm.
more information came out about it, and then when I found that you were indeed going to be playing Lady Day, I went back to your show that you did here in Atlanta at Center Stage,
Oh, wow.
an
Wow.
am-
Yeah, that's great.
an amazing show. And when you took your makeup off to perform a song, I said,
Mhm.
okay, you know what? This is not your average singer,
Oh,
and I know that she's going to kill this. So
thank
then,
you.
then you did the song "Strange Fruit" a couple of years ago for Brian Stevenson's
Yeah.
Equal Justice. Yeah. So
Mhm.
did you ever think that "Strange Fruit" and performing that song then would bring you to this moment right now that we're having?
Never. Not at all. Not only did I not anticipate it, I wouldn't have wanted it if someone told me that back then. Because I was, first of all, before this moment, I will say, I wasn't an actor, you know what I mean? And that was, I was terrified to be terrible. I was terrified to be a stain on Billie Holiday's legacy, Diana Ross's legacy, on Audra McDonald on Broadway. I was just terrified, Um, and also, and then I'm a fan of Billie Holiday. So and a fan of Lady Sings the Blues and Diana's performance. So as a fan of hers, I thought the movie was perfect and it's exactly what Black people needed at that time. And then as a fan of Billie's, I knew that it wasn't fully the story of Billie Holiday, and I knew that the government went after her and that she really was a hero. So it was really after talking to Lee and his commitment to telling the truth of her story. I think what I found so interesting in the first meeting with him is you could tell he felt slighted, almost angry that the government was able to successfully keep a story about a woman he loved so much away from him. You know what I mean? And so I could see that, oh, he really wants to honor her legacy, and so the world can now know her as the great godmother of civil rights, which she was, and then tell it with all her humanity. To me, it is a pet peeve of mine when our stories are told through a different lens, or when we feel the need in a story to say, okay, we can't talk about the ugly things. Like, why? They do, you know what I mean? And reward themselves for it, you know what I mean? And so I just feel like we are humans with ups and with downs, with peaks and valleys, with all these different dynamics and all these different colors and this array that make us us. The entire diaspora. We're not a monolith. You know what I mean? And so I love that it was her. It was vindicating her legacy. It was her humanity, her magnetism, her fun, her tragedies and her triumphs. And so it was that and prayer, a lot of prayer, and it was a leap of faith to really jump into this and to trust him, and I'm so grateful that I did. Honestly, I love your back wall, by the way. Just a wall of divas, honey. A wall of divas. I love
And
it.
here and look, I don't know if you can see this, but that's the Lady Sings the Blues album
Oh
there.
yeah, I can
That's
see it
yeah.
for sure.
Your transformation into Billie Holiday was, I mean, spectacular. From the moment I heard you speak the very first time as Billie, it sent chills through my body, and I was like, oh wait a minute, this is. I was like, she's got this. At
Wow.
what moment or at what time, I guess, during shooting, did you know that you had fully embodied her spirit?
Mm. Um, I don't know. I guess when I felt her presence, when I felt that commingling of spirits, you know what I mean, where I was in it and I was a spectator, but the spectator was me and the person was me. But I never felt confident. That's the difference. I had a peace about doing it. I knew I felt like I was supposed to do it. I had prayed about just the wisdom of whether I should get into it or not. But I never felt, there was never a moment every single day I went to set with knots in my stomach thinking, today's the day I'm going to be terrible. And today's the day Lee realizes he should have never hired me. So, but there were moments, I think particularly, I carried her with me in my life, so her DNA made it onto my record. I am her when I'm at home and with family. I'm changing my behaviors. I'm changing my appearance. We cut my hair off. I lost a bunch of weight. I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm drinking alcohol. I'm just different in my behavior. Cussing a lot more because she had a PhD in that shit. So, um, so I think primarily was when my mom or my family, especially my mom, because she would just like rudely refuse to accept, like, she's so excited about the movie. But during the process, she'd be like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What do you mean, lady? You know, I'm Billy right now." So I think moments like that were when I was like, "Oh, she's." It would be moments when I would think I was being me, and then a family member or a friend would be like, "Eat, yikes, you're doing it again." You know what I mean? And that's, I think, when I realized like, wow, she's sitting in that space. And that was it was Lee and it was Tasha Smith, my acting coach, Tom Jones, and Susan Laurie Park's great script that really allowed me to get to that place. And then getting to set and seeing the costumes and all of that stuff come together, it was very weird. It wasn't a moment of like, oh wow, I look so different. It was more of a moment like, oh wow, there I am. You know what I mean? And that's what so it felt like seeing myself, but I was Billy, you know what I mean? And that was weird. It's very weird to navigate.
Let's and speaking of just your looks, the costumes and the hair and the wigs, getting to able to work with Charles Gregory, the late great Charles Gregory
Yes.
Ross, he transformed your look. I mean, you've got your hair pulled back in a bun, you've got the flower, you've got the short hair, the curly hair. What was that experience like, if you
I,
will?
I mean, it was amazing and it was transformation. You know what I mean? The entire time, everyone worked so hard, to put this together. And God rest his soul. Um, uh, but it was just to just see each of these transformations, especially when we did the iconic looks. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, that is a picture that I've been staring at since I was 11 years old, sitting on top of my head right now. You know what I mean? It was just, one of those moments. We used my natural hair. We used incredible wigs, just great wig technology. Stacey Merriman is also a hairstylist who worked on my hair as well too. And just these pictures that I love of her, to see this hair and to see this makeup on my face. Actually, one of the things I loved the most was a wig that Charles had been working on for such a long time. It was the wig where I'm dying. So it's like this, a little bit of graying. It's the thin and they had been plucking and plucking and plucking this wig to make it look, the hair distressed. And it was once I put it on and then I put those teeth on, you know what I mean? And the makeup was on. I mean, there's something about hair and makeup that can actually make you feel like you're dying. Other than the fact that I was smoking far too many cigarettes and drinking a shit ton of alcohol, that definitely did it too, and not sleeping. But once you're in that hair and makeup, you get that somber. You know what it makes you think of? How much unfinished business you have if you really were to go right now. You know what I mean? Like, who the hell's gonna take care of my family? Who's gonna there's an urgency in it. It's crazy.
Let's get into the music. You got to chance to perform some of her most iconic songs. I told you before, I loved your performance of "Give Me a Pig Foot and a Bottle of Beer."
Yeah, that's right. That was
Let's talk about
actually,
that because that was almost like you got to jump into the crowd
it
for
was
that
amazing.
one
I
as
literally,
well.
there were so few light moments on set, right? I mean, there were like virtually none. I think that was probably one of the only ones. So this idea that it was like, oh, light days versus hard days. I'm like, there were no light days. Every day was such a heavy day. But it's funny because Lee always asks me, he's like, how is Pickfoot and a Bottle of Beer your favorite song you perform? But I'm like, because I know that feeling. I know when the world is crashing down, when it's caving in on you, right? Like, even when she sang that song on tour, she's at home. She's in Baltimore. She's with her family. She's with her folk. We know what that's like. You know what I mean? We know the language, the behavior, the mannerisms, the smell, the feeling, the freedom, how our bodies move and how we just move and shape differently. And so I know that feeling. And with her, there's police still outside that club. They're still going to chase her down. They're still going to try to stop her from using that song. But when you're in that moment and you have that moment of freedom, I mean, Billie Holiday probably didn't crowd surf, but why she could have, you know what I mean? She was such a wild spirit, and that's why people loved her. So I love that Lee wrote that in there. It was just so brilliant and made her so relatable and so new and so just kind of who she was and also fresh at the same time. But I know that feeling. I love that feeling of just like, I can do no wrong in this space. Like, I am so loved. I'm so insulated. We're good. Let's just have a good time. So that's my favorite because of that.
Well, Andra Day, congratulations on this amazing film. You've received a Golden Globe nomination. There have been a couple of other awards that you've picked up along the way. I know the the
Yeah.
Palm
Palm
Springs
Springs,
Film Festival, and best of
Miami.
luck to you. Cannot
Thank
wait for everyone to see this amazing film.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you. I hope I hear your name come up and see your face again.
A pleasure talking to you as well. And
Likewise.
again, congratulations.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Ray. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.